Welcome to UXR Geeks, where we geek out with researchers from all around the world on topics they're passionate about. I'm your host, Tina Ličková, a researcher and a product manager, and this podcast is brought to you by UXtweak, the UX research platform for recruiting, contacting, analyzing, and sharing insights, all in one place. This is UXR Geeks, and you are listening to my final episode. This is also why we don't have a typical intro, because this final episode is joined by a new host, Petra, who is going to take over from the next episode. And we decided to do a short thing on explaining what is happening and that the new age of UXR Geeks is coming. So hi, Petra.
Hey, Tina. Hello, everyone.
So these are the news. And before we explain what is happening and why I decided after 4 years to quit the show, I want to introduce Petra. So Petra, who are you? What are you doing? What do you went through? Tell us everything, because we want to know everything about you and what are you bringing to the table.
Hi, everyone. And thank you, Tina, for this short introduction. My name is Petra and I work as a user researcher. I'm super passionate about research. I believe that research should be in the center of every company, of creating strategies when we are coming up with new features, new products, and so on. And in some companies, I noticed that this is not happening, and that drives me crazy. So I want to talk with people, understand where they are coming from and what they are doing to fight this, to make sure that people are listening to the research. They are deciding based on the research and they are thinking about the user's needs.
Let's go to your experiences. Let's go to what you did, because I think your journey is quite interesting. So why not to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So I started my journey in Slido. And back then when I joined Slido, I think it was like 14 years ago or something like that. It was a small startup, like 10 people, and we were figuring out what to do, how to develop features. But what we had there was a really strong team, and it was super user-centric. So that's where I learned my values, and that's what I try to apply everywhere I go. And in our Slido journey, we went from startup to scale up. There was more and more people being hired. The culture was still staying the same, even though the growth was super fast. And then at the end, we were acquired by Cisco. And then there was like around almost 300 people in the company. And still, our CEO was coming to our research calls. Everyone was listening to what the users were saying. And one thing that was special was that we were connecting with other teams. So we were talking with sales, we were talking with marketing, we were talking with guys in technology. So really research was at the heart in the company. And I was like, this is amazing. This is how it should be, right? And we were building these relationships and these conversations, and it was so powerful. And we also had a platform where we were sharing findings, not only from the research team, but from all the other teams. Then I learned that this is not everywhere like this. And actually, I was impacted by layoffs happening in Cisco. So maybe some of you can relate to it. But that didn't bring me down, because I still saw the journey of Slido. I saw what part did the research play. So even though I left Cisco and I left on good terms, I wanted to bring my expertise, my journey coming from startup, scale up, and then to the huge corporation somewhere else. And then I talked with UXtweak founder Eduard Puritz, and we shared this belief that research should be conducted right, with a high quality and intent. And it is a powerful tool that the companies should use. So I joined UXtweak, and now I have the opportunity to talk with many inspiring people. So that's why I'm here.
Great. And sorry to hear that you were impacted by the layoffs, but that's maybe great for having the empathy what is happening in the business, right? while talking about the empathy, I think you have a really good framing when it comes to what do you want to bring to the podcast. When we were also aligning on, okay, I am leaving, you are jumping in. I really love the enthusiasm that you have, and also that you have already, when you decided to take it over, a mission. So, what is the mission for you in the podcast?
When we started discussing whether I would be able to join the podcast, and we will be talking about why this change is happening, at first I was super excited because, as I said, I love talking to people. I love learning from them. And everywhere I go, I bring my curiosity. That's what I do on the research calls. No matter what project we are conducting, I bring my curiosity. But then I started listening to more and more episodes, and I read about all the amazing guests that were on the show. I read about you in more detail, and I was like, how can I fill these big shoes? Because you have such rich experience. I have completely different experience compared to you. So I got worried and I was like, can I do it? But then I took a step back and I sat down and I was thinking, what am I bringing to the podcast? What is my mission? And then I was like, I'm a user researcher. I want to treat it that way. So I want to get inspired. There were amazing guests and I would love to talk to them. I would like to pick their brains. I would like to get their knowledge across. I want to enable people that are listening to us. And I'm not scared of discussion. I'm not scared about maybe disagreeing even, because that can lead to more powerful learning. Yeah, that's my mission.
Great. So looking forward to it. And the first episode with you is coming in a few weeks. Do you already know who is coming to the podcast?
My first guest should be Joel Barr, and I am very excited for it. When I was talking to Joel, I think we shared this positive outlook on research and the role of research. I realized that the times are changing. We have the AI hype, the budget cuts, the layoffs happening, and I've been through that. But I still think that we are here to stay. The researchers will have a role in the company. There is a desire for research from stakeholders. Maybe it is changing the way we will be conducting research and the expectations from researchers. But I do think that research is here to stay, and researchers have so much expertise that they can use to enhance the experience of the users.
Okay. Good. So maybe now to explain from my side, say what is happening. I mean, it's super simple. After 4 years, I decided it's time to move forward and to leave the podcast as it is. It's coming from different places. I think I grew a little bit tired of talking about the research, which sounds weird, but it's not meant badly. It's just like you basically talk with people about one topic. And I felt like I want to talk about more topics, go really wild and talk to scientists from other spaces. The second point was, in order to let the podcast grow, we were talking about some social media strategies. I am not really big into social media. I'm not really big into promoting myself anymore. And I am kind of what some people call a business punk. And I am kind of like neglecting all that at this point of life. It might change in a few years, but I felt like, okay, this is not something that is natural to me. I also felt somebody, a new blood coming to the podcast would really refresh it after the 4 years we were building it up. So I'm really happy that you joined and that we have this chance to continue with this, because I mean, it's one of my babies and I feel like it shouldn't be, just stopped by me not being able or not being so enthusiastic anymore about it.
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I will try to do as a good of a job as you were doing. But Tinka, you have done over 70 episodes. You had over 70 guests, right? So how would you describe your journey to bring a bit of a closure to this part of the UXR Geeks podcast?
how would I summarize it? It's 4 years of my life, right? So it's really hard to summarize it. But I remember talking to the first producer when I did my first episode with Nick, who am I sending greetings. And she was like, oh, you are way more cheeky in real life. Just be yourself. That was the first moment where I realized, okay, I have to bring myself to the table. I'm not just a researcher in this podcast, but I have to be also the kind of like the entertainer, not in the bad meaning of the word. So that was the first point. And then playing with the format. I mean, we started where we talked with an hour and a half with our guests because I was so excited. But of course, people sometimes get tired to talk about one specific topic. So we shortened that to way shorter episodes that the people can listen to us when they are, doing the laundry or driving in cars, also in Europe where everything is way closer than in the US. And then we also started to go even more specifically in the topics. And when we were talking with our guests, it was, okay, what exactly are we going to talk about? Not to bring really like big topics or meta level topics to the table. So I would say that's the development or evolution on the podcast and my evolution in it, trying to find who am I in the podcast and also bringing my skepticism into it. And this is something that UXtweak completely allowed me, which I really felt lucky, because not in every podcast of a company you can be critical, you can be skeptical. And I am a critic of research as a business. I'm a critic of mostly everything. I would say I'm a critical mind. And I also was allowed to swear, which is also great because not every podcast allows that. So I would say becoming more and more myself in the podcast was something that I very much cherish and celebrate. And also finding through the podcast that research is my love. It will stay my love, but I need to kind of go somewhere else to try new things, to bring all my experience, which is like from every corner of our business, into the PM role. And I felt it should be happening right now when the AI is coming and we are trying to figure out how to bring it to products, not because of the technology, but how to make normal, helpful products with it. And I felt like, okay, this is the time where I should be doing it. So the podcast helped me to shape what I really want, where I want to be in the next couple of months or years.
We can wish you only luck on the journey, and maybe in the future you will come to the podcast as a guest. You can see what you were doing, what projects you are working on, and see how you feel about what we do here as well.
Great, Petra. Looking forward to all the episodes that you're going to record. Wishing you all the best. And yeah, have fun with our audience and the audience with you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tina. And for everyone else, I'm super excited to be here. And hopefully I will also connect with you on our next episode. Thank you for listening to UXR Geeks. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow our podcast and share it with your friends and colleagues. Your support is really what keeps us going. If you have any tips on fantastic speakers from across the globe, feedback, or any questions, we would love to hear from you. So reach out to geekspodcast@uxtweak.com. Special thanks goes to my colleagues, to our podcast producer Katarina Novikova, our social media specialist Daria Krasovskaya, and our audio specialist Melissa Danishova.